If you'll see a guy sitting across from me wearing a Man United jersey, I don't have an issue with that. I'm sure a lot of the Liverpool fans listening now going, "Ach, no, man, why do I have to have that on my computer screen?" I'm speaking about young Eddie Johnson. He's a student, he's a waiter, and he's a Radio Cape Pulpit intern. He's a son. He's a very good uncle from some of the stories he's been telling me. Eddie, good morning, brother.
Good morning, Mr. Brad. How's the listeners? Thank you for tuning in. It's a privilege being live again. So, yeah, you feeling good, Brad?
Yeah. You enjoyed yourself so much the last time. Now he's like, can we get on the microphone again? And of course we have to, because if you're going to be an intern with a passion and a desire to be on radio, then you got to get behind the mic, right?
Yeah. But as you said, it's a good thing that being nervous is a good thing. And I'm still kind of nervous also, but it's fine. I'll just be Eddie Johnson and I won't be Edu Misa.
So this is the thing about radio, that, you sit behind a microphone and then it becomes very difficult. Like you and I chat all the time about all sorts of things. But the moment there's a red button, a red light goes on and there's a microphone, it's funny how it is. So he's going to want to do this for a living one day, potentially. That's the dream, at least for now. We'll see what happens as your life unfolds. So you've got to get used to getting behind the microphone. So this dream, let's quickly go there, like this dream to be on radio, like that had to start somewhere, right? I mean, I can tell you mine exactly when it started. So I know there was a point somewhere in your life where you said, that's for me.
Yes, I grew up. I grew up with another girl named Sky, and then her sister went to radio, grew up FM radio, right?
Yeah.
And then one time she invited us. Then we did do a small insert. I'm still trying to get the insert. My uncle still has it. And then also, I realized that I also like music, but I enjoyed, I saw that, no, man, this is a field where I can talk also, and it's not only just about having a good voice and liking music.
Yeah.
It's deeper than that. I saw it from you also. So then I thought, I think this is where I would be. I would love to judge in you, and seeing you every single day, I'm like, this guy's too good. I have to learn from him, and and use the skills to my advantage. So it was that point. I was in grade 3, and I want to do this. And always listen to the third countdown show also.
Yes.
On Saturdays, Good Up FM. So yeah, that's where it started.
So there you go. A guy who says, I want to do this. And he's certainly shown that he's got what it takes. But being a student is difficult because you've got to focus, and the expectations. You've got to get to class. You've got to do your homework, do the assignments, get the exams done. And you've done well because your internship was essential to be able to get your qualification. And here you've been with us for months. It feels like years. But we've got to know each other and spending time together. So it's been awesome having you. And what happens now when the assignments finally get signed off? What next?
Assignments finally get signed off. So the part of a student's going to take a break in the meantime, and the part of me being the waiter is going to be, I'm going to lock in because season is coming, so it's going to be full. But I did apply for 4th year also. I want to do advanced and maybe masters. I'm not sure about that. But in the meantime, I still want to be a student. But after this internship stint, it's straight to making money. There's no other way.
Yeah, you got to get through it. So let's talk about the money side of things, because studying, that requires your time every day, and you also want to make some money. So being a full-time student and still needing to work, that must be massively challenging. Does that put pressure on you having to get to the restaurant? Now, you've chosen to be a waiter at a very well-known restaurant close to where you are staying. That choice does it make studying more difficult, or do they work well together?
Initially, I thought it did, hey? Because my friend, he actually put in a good word for me at work last year in January. But then I was in 2nd year, and I was still new to living in town and the res life. So I'm like, should I take it? Should I not? I'm like, nah. And I spoke to my mother, and she's like, nah, I'd rather focus on your books. I'm like, okay, nah, it's fine. And then the whole year finished, and because we finished early, our course. September, October, we're done. And then he asked me again, yo, Eddie, come to work. And I'm like, you know what? Fine, might as well. Yeah. What I have to lose anyway? We done with all our assignments. I went there. 2 weeks was just training. And then after that, I was the best decision of my life. And going back to your point, I was an uncle, went to Eastern Cape, bought all my nieces and nephews Christmas clothes, and it was a very nice feeling. But then this year it's been slightly better because the internship started in June, so before that we finished all of our assignments before, so just only the internship and just work, and I balanced that quite well. So it wasn't necessarily hectic. However, there is some students who have hectic courses and exams. Luckily for me, I don't have exams, just big assignments. So
yeah, and part of our conversation was just to also reflect back on my experience many years ago. I was in university in the mid-90s, And there it was either your parents can pay for your education and you stay at home or however, or you get a student loan, or you just don't study. I mean, those were really the only options. Or maybe you got a bursary. If you're a really top student, you'd get a bursary so that you can go and study. And that certainly wasn't my experience. So it was a case of I really do want to study. And the only way I could study was to get a student loan. So that worked out well. And it's nice to know that your classes and your books and stuff are covered. But then that's the only thing. And my dad said to me, if you want to go and step out into the big wide world, even as a student, and live on your own and do your own thing, it's up to you to figure it all out. So that was my choice. So he said, I will pay two things. You'll still be on my medical aid, which came from his work. So as long as you're a student, you're on medical aid, and that's pretty awesome. And then the other thing is I will pay your rent so that you have a place to stay. And my rent back in those days at my flat in Van der Stel Hof in Bloemfontein, that was like, I think it was 400 Rand.
I'm so jealous.
No, imagine. So 400 Rand a month was my rent. So, I'm grateful that he did that. And he said, anything else? I mean, anything else you want. If you want to eat and anything else, have a telephone and that's on you. So you're going to have to get a job. And so I didn't really have a choice. So I also went the route of waitering because that was the only thing that I could do at night so that I could study in the day. And that's a choice many made. But then you get through it. And at the end, you're like, okay, great. Now I've got to find work. I moved back to Cape Town and carried on studying at the Sports Science Institute. And then also continued waitering because that was what I knew. And I knew that I could do that. So I kept on doing that. And that was and I managed to pay my way. I managed to eat and everything else that I needed to do and put petrol in my car. I'm grateful I got, it was certainly not a fancy car by any stretch of the imagination. And that's a story I've told you before. But the thing that I think got me, just as I finished sharing my idea on this side, is I managed to get through it. But now, at the end of all of it, I have to start working. I'm sitting with this massive student debt that I now have to do something about. And that was the next big step for me to try and get rid of that.
Yeah, and in the midst of you getting the job, your father made it clear that he's going to cover the rent and everything.
Yeah.
Did you ever experience like the feeling where you finally get a job, right? And now you have like your cousin who found out that you got a job, and now they suddenly need help. Like, I'm not sure, like...
I know what you mean.
Yeah, the black text. I'm not sure if you know the term of it.
Yeah.
Did you ever experience that when you were
nothing like that at all. For me, I was like, okay, now I've finished studying, so then you're off the medical aid, and you no longer have somebody paying your rent. So that was the agreement my dad had with me, right? You can study for 10 years or 5 years or 4 years. I ended up studying for 4 years. And then that's that. Then you're stepping out into the big wide world and you're on your own. And look, many people step out and they're always on their own. They never got any help of any kind. So, I mean, I had some privilege for sure. But I mean, for you, things are also different for you. You're not working to sustain yourself.
Yeah, true. There's, because already typical family where like you have to go in the world to do good for the family also. So, you'd be on a call with some family members like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Oh, you still in town? Yeah, I'm still in town. I'm still working. So, you think you can help us with $200?
Yeah, that happens.
So you must balance that. And also, another question I want to ask you is that seeing the fact that back in your day, there wasn't much necessarily, I can't say like peer pressure, I think, because see, nowadays, you go on TikTok, you see people enjoying themselves in like going out, partying, doing this, doing that. I'm sure discipline was a very big thing in your day also.
Yes.
So like how did you handle the whole peer pressure thing? Because there wasn't necessarily TikTok and all this stuff back in your day, while still knowing that there's books and you must still work.
Yeah, I think my issue came in that I kind of got lost in, I wasn't in a good emotional space during my student years, and particularly towards the end of my studies. To be perfectly honest, I was like an emotional mess. So I made a lot of poor decisions, and I had some good friends. I mean, we got on well. I still connect to some of them some days, but we were all together in a similar position as making bad choices. So we were always together as a group of us, and then we were always out clubbing or, nightlife and trying to work and study and do all of those things. So once I'd finished with the studies, then my focus was on radio. And there's no money in radio at that time because it was like voluntary in community radio and stuff like that back in the day. So for us, how do you convert being a radio presenter into money if you can't get it from the radio station? Well, then you've got to become a nightclub DJ, so you're on the decks, and that's kind of how you make money. And then that lifestyle is very destructive. Well, it was for me. the choices you make along the way, the people you choose to connect with, and the poor sleeping and eating habits and the poor drinking habits. So that was kind of my difficult and messy situation for me. The peer pressure, I didn't really experience peer pressure. We were just all in it together and just kind of trying to get through it and have fun at the same time. But very little guidance. We didn't have mentors. Most of us didn't really pay much attention to what our parents tried or didn't try to teach us. We were kind of on our own mission, and we were going nowhere slowly. So I feel I've only really started maturing once I hit once I was 35, I think I've slowly started to get my life together, if I can be honest about that. You know, you had to deal with a lot of stuff, getting married, starting a family, and having to deal with emotional stuff you never dealt with as a youngster. So the journey's been kind of crazy. So yeah, I would love to be in a situation where I kind of feel you're at, where life starts to make sense when you're in your early 20s and you're making good decisions and you're being led by good people. You know, I think you're going to be, by the time I'm 47, right? I'll be 48 next month. By the time you're 48, I imagine you'll be 100 times further in your life than I am now.
Yeah. There's a lot as a young Black South African. There's a lot on your shoulders, man. There's genuinely a lot on your shoulders. Family, the work, the school, also expectations, also from society, also.
Yeah.
Because now I'm at a place where I don't know whether I should either try and get a place near work in town, or should I just go back at home? Like, because now maybe at home they're gonna think, if I'm not gonna go back home, now I'm trying they're gonna think that I'm better than them in a way, you know, because now I'm used to this certain lifestyle. Now I'm back in the township, but I feel like it's just a thing of the 5 people you surround yourself with. It's a similar scenario, just another example. The 5 people you surround yourself with is the 5 people you're going to be. If you hang out with 5 rich people, you're going to be rich eventually.
They'll help you adjust your thinking.
Exactly.
And
I feel like
uplift you.
Exactly. The advantage of living near, I'm just diverting from the topic now, of living near the city will probably help me because I interact with customers, or I'm nearer, example, to Radio Cape Pulpit as I would be to in the township. So that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
So for you, how was it when you finished your course? How did you thank your father for paying the the rent thing, basically?
Well said. Perhaps I didn't. Maybe I don't remember. Maybe there was a certain feeling of entitlement, like I'm the son and you're the father, so thanks for your responsibility. I don't know whether that's right or wrong. I have no idea. I can't remember doing anything specifically like that. My dad is. When I wanted to move and live overseas, I didn't have the money at that stage for a plane ticket, you know, and he bought that plane ticket for me, which I paid him back.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm grateful, and I know not many people can get the help of a parent in that way, and I would say that privileges were certainly there for that. I had to work hard, and I made many mistakes, and I had to start from the bottom, but at least I had that help, which many people don't have. So I guess I would say I was privileged. And I probably should have thanked him.
And as a father right now, the differences in maybe your child and the way you grew up, and how do you think in terms of him going to balance? I don't know if he's gonna balance school or work. I don't know, but how do you think? Can you see the differences in back then and now, and how it's gonna affect your child?
I think the pressure now to perform and succeed feels greater than ever. Before there was no social media and the internet and AI and all of those things. So the world he's stepping into is so completely different to mine. I mean, the work that he's going to do, potentially whatever that might look like when he starts working, probably doesn't even exist now. Never mind when I was growing up. So the world is really different. I feel as a parent, my responsibility to at least keep my finger on the pulse of where the world is going. As an entrepreneur myself, outside of radio, I've got to do that. And it's if anything that I'd want him to learn from me that I hope I can transfer to him as I see the world changing and as I see him stepping into a world I don't necessarily completely understand, is that he can look at me and my wife as his parents and say, dang it, but those two work hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like they graft, and that work ethic is something that he can carry into his life. That he would look at it and see it as a positive thing and not look at it as a negative thing. So I'm hoping that I can inspire him that way, and hopefully be able to guide him with the things that I'm learning and helping him along the way. Maybe with the things that I've only learned recently that I've never known in my life that I was never necessarily taught.
Mm-hmm. And in closing, seeing the fact that you very you speak out very much about men's mental health.
Yes.
In the modern day, like now, of a typical young man, doesn't matter what race, doesn't matter, young man with the world on his shoulders, family, job, school. Nobody necessarily checks on him and be like, how you doing mentally and everything. How would you advise that on, because you're a man, I'm a man. We can't speak on anyone else because we both men, you know.
That's right.
So how would you advise me on how to deal with that just mentally?
Yeah, guys, find a connection of men you trust. Make those connections, build up on those connections, and find people that you can trust. There are a lot of guys in our circles. You can't open up about a lot of stuff. Everything's about, yeah, it's very superficial. Find a group of guys that you can really be deep with, that you can come up and say, Eddie, I'm struggling, brother. I'm really struggling with this, or I really made a mess. Like, I don't really know what to do here. Can you help me? I trust you to keep it under wraps until it's necessary to talk about it publicly, to give me godly wisdom, and to be able to walk me through that by caring for me and supporting me. And I think a lot of people have relationships that are platonic, so they don't have that kind of person that they can really speak to and really open up with. And it should be another guy.
Oh, yeah.
So if you can be in that space of being open, and then I think you have to have a certain element of bravery, because we've grown up and with things like men don't cry, a lot of that kind of a toxic masculinity. If we can learn to brush that aside and find people that we trust, that we can just open up with, and we need to talk. And if I'm going to care about you enough, I'm going to draw it out of you because I can see you're not okay. For us to speak about it, for us to find support from one another in brotherhood, I think is essential. And then to have somebody else say, dude, this is beyond what I can, you need to go and see a professional. I'll drive you there. I'll pay for it. I'll walk with you. I will sit outside in the waiting room while you're in with the doctor to get the help that you need. But we are going. Those are the kind of people we need in our lives. And so we need to find those people. You said those 5 people that we spend the most of our time with, we become like those people. Find your tribe. Find your brotherhood. And you got to make a choice, though. You can be the kind of guy that's going to have platonic relationships and just kind of have to hold your pain in until something cracks. Or you're going to be the kind of person who's going to say, I want a better life than this for myself and for future generations. And for me to be a better version of myself means I need to be prepared to open up, and I need to be in a strong brotherhood, and I need to have someone to guide me to do the right thing. And that's not easy, but that's our responsibility as men. We need to be there for each other, and we need to listen. I was supposed to be talking to you, and then you interviewed me, so I'm going to have to mark your paper now and tell them what a great interview this was.
Okay.
So you definitely get a 10 out of 10.
Phew. Okay, thank you very much for your time. Yeah. Next week again, 7 days time. God willing.
Yeah. You're going to book yourself in?
Okay, definitely. Thank you very much, guys, for listening. Please send your thoughts on Radio Cape Pulpit number 081 729 1657 and on Radio Disa 082 042 7784. See you guys in 7 days' time. That's Eddie Johnson signing out.
Eddie's has invited himself onto the show next week. I can't say no to that.